This week's episode of Girl Talk, we're going to talk about the argument. No, John and I did not just have an argument, and we haven't had an argument for a while, but I want to talk about the argument in your marriage, because this I know, all of you have a topic, or maybe two, that always elicits an argument or a debate or a tense conversation between you and your husband, right? We all have them. They're frustrating, and you can feel like you're on a merry-go-round and no one ever gets off of it, right? Especially when you get into this cycle where you're talking about this point of frustration and you feel the argument starting, right? You all know exactly what I mean. And you feel like with the topic or the argument, you actually never make any progress on it. Anyhow, I just want to give you a couple of things that we've done. So early in our marriage, our argument was always about feeling like John was not helping me enough around the house. It was an argument where I'd feel so frustrated, and it generally coincided with my period, but I would feel like he didn't care how much work it was for me to keep the house clean. Now, John does not really care if the house is clean or not. I prefer a clean house. If you watched our pet peeve video, you would know that. And so it was really frustrating to me when I would feel like he was just being a slob and didn't care how much work it was going to take for me to get the house clean. So we would have these recurring arguments. So some of the things we did is, one is I knew what triggered me. Like I knew what was going to bring on the conversation. And so if I knew it was coming, I knew to allow myself to take a deep breath, to not feel so anxious about it, to not be so frustrated about it, and actually give myself time to really process, am I just really PMSing? Or is this really an issue? Like, is it really an issue that I'm feeling like he's not helping enough around the house? And he would take it in, and I love this about John, because he would take in something that I would say, and he would never be defensive. Like, he would try to just listen before he responded, and that taught me how to listen before I responded. So over time, he did learn that, like, there are things he can do to help keep the house clean, and I learned that my standard is just way higher than his, and his will never be as high as mine when it comes to a clean house. So I know that all of you have an argument, something that is a sticking point in your marriage that's frustrating, and I hope that you can learn to take some time before it gets full blown. One, if you feel it coming on, and two, if it's come on, just to say, wait a minute, give me some time before I respond. I like to think of it like going around a mountain and you keep hitting the same point, like you keep hitting the same frustration in your marriage, but hopefully you go up the mountain a little bit and learn some ways to deal with the issue better, so that it's not always a full-blown argument, or it's not always a real like point of frustration. And if it is, that argument gets shorter and shorter, period. Like you problem solve and figure out ways to handle it shorter and shorter each time. So hope this week is I hope this episode was helpful. Thanks so much for joining along on this journey. Don't forget to like and comment and subscribe.